Brent crude just breached $114 a barrel. It's a single-day spike of over 20%. The reason is simple. Iran has begun to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, putting 1/5 of the entire global oil supply at risk. But this is not a random market shock. The hidden causal thread surfaces now. From 2019, the man who effectively controls the world's oil supply, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, laid out this exact scenario with chilling accuracy. He warned that a conflict with Iran would mean a total collapse of the global economy, with oil prices jumping to unimaginably high numbers. His warning was based on the harsh arithmetic of the 2019 Aramco attacks. He had seen the numbers. That prophecy is now our reality, and to navigate what is coming, we must trace the precise causal chain that brought us here. It didn't start with an attack. It started with a 4-hour ultimatum. To understand why the prince's prediction is coming true, we look at the trigger. A 4-hour ultimatum that was more a financial weapon than a military one. Iran broadcast. In 4 hours, we are hitting every energy site in the region. And what comes next? America will not be able to absorb. That is a threat to oil supply and to the prices and markets built on it. The clock was set to run out as global markets opened. That is market timing. It blows through energy futures and forces the White House into a stabilization response. In a week, Brent crude jumped over 25%, the largest gain since 1983, while tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of oil flows, collapsed. When 1/5 of supply is choked as the benchmark price leaps by a quarter, the arithmetic is unforgiving. Energy costs, inflation pressure, and portfolio risk all spike together. Under that pressure, the US president spoke not with targeting maps, but with reassurances about supply, stability, and keeping prices under control. Language aimed at traders, not generals. It was a market intervention to talk down oil and calm markets, showing that Iran had seized the first move. The question is why Tehran saw such escalation as a necessary symmetrical response to what it had just absorbed. That symmetry does not play out on a traditional battlefield, but in the poisoned air over Iran's cities. Iran's ultimatum was not unprovoked. It was a direct response to a US-led strike on its own oil facilities. An attack that was, by design, an act of environmental warfare. The strike released plumes of toxic smoke over city neighborhoods, seeping through vents and open windows into homes, and settling onto uncovered food. The warnings from Iranian health authorities were stark and immediate. The food in your home that isn't sealed, throw it away. Your water filtration system, replace the filters immediately. Do not breathe the outdoor air without protection. For any household, that means days of food in the trash and an immediate cost to replace filters. The Iranian Red Crescent then warned of toxic rain, acidic enough to cause chemical burns and skin disease, telling residents to stay indoors and avoid all rain exposure. Faced with this public health catastrophe, projected hospital overload, and long-term contamination risk, Tehran's calculus became brutally simple. An eye for an eye. Iran declared it would inflict the same environmental reality on the energy infrastructure of its adversaries. That meant an economic weapon built around oil itself. Hit the facilities that feed global supply, cut exports until capacity falls sharply, and let the arithmetic do the rest. Prices must rise until demand matches the new, lower supply. A kill switch Tehran has calibrated to one clearing price, $200 per barrel. Next, we'll walk through the arithmetic of that switch and how pushing oil toward $200 starts to break the global economy. The arithmetic is not complex. At $200 a barrel, this isn't economic disruption, it's a kill switch. The IMF now models this once unthinkable scenario, pushing global inflation toward 14% and triggering a severe GDP contraction. Macro numbers that sit on top of very specific systems breaking underneath. Aviation is pushed toward financial non-viability as jet fuel, a key cost, tracks $200 oil and drives most flights below break-even. Global shipping and trucking don't stop, but fuel costs surge, doubling or tripling delivered prices for low-margin, freight-heavy goods and routes. Can your business absorb that? In Europe, heating costs spike beyond what many households and state budgets can sustain, and the cost of fertilizer, an energy-intensive input, skyrockets, driving food prices toward levels that, in the IMF's words, hundreds of millions of people cannot afford. Can your household absorb that? And if enough businesses and households cannot, can our political system absorb the consequences? This is a weapon of strategic asymmetry, an economic staring contest where one side can keep its eyes open longer. Iran can endure high prices longer because subsidies and controlled domestic pricing cushion its population. Western economies are far more exposed. On the IMF's assumptions, you can see aviation, freight, heating, and food systems starting to fail in sequence. That is my reading of the math, not a black box model. From your professional standpoint, what's the first domino you see falling in your industry from a sustained $200 oil price? Share it below. This is economic collapse by a different name, and Iran now has its hand on that kill switch. But this leads to a deeply paradoxical question. As the global system, designed and upheld by the United States, begins to fracture, how could this economic attack on the West actually benefit America's strategic position? The answer is found in a single, transformative economic event: the American Shale Revolution. Unlike the oil shocks of the 1970s, when the US was the world's largest importer and deeply exposed, shale has inverted the equation. The United States is now a net energy exporter, and that creates two very different stories for the West. For Europe and the UK, it's a story of net importer vulnerability. Higher energy prices flow straight into import bills and industrial input costs, widening trade deficits and squeezing margins. Without a domestic shale-style boom, there is no meaningful producer windfall to offset the hit to households and manufacturers, so the economy skews toward recession, deindustrialization pressure, and rising unrest. The weapon is hitting its intended target. For the United States, the narrative is more complex. Consumers face pain at the pump and in heating bills, yet on the other side of the ledger, American producers see a windfall. As Asian and European buyers pivot away from the Gulf, demand for US crude, especially Mars, the US Gulf heavy grade, has surged. Mars premiums have jumped to their highest levels since 2020. The arithmetic is unforgiving. A 2026 Bloomberg analysis found that for the US, consumers lose, but producers win, and the result nets out at basically zero impact on growth. Consumer pain is largely offset by producer profit. That is not an invincibility shield, it is a built-in shock absorber, and that buffer is the critical divergence. The same oil weapon that nets the US near zero hits European and UK economies with no comparable offset. For North American investors, this fundamentally rewrites the risk matrix. It points to structurally overweighting domestic US and Canadian energy producers as a partial hedge, one of the few sectors positioned to gain directly from the crisis-driven price spike. This economic insulation, however, creates a new and potentially more dangerous vulnerability. While America's economy may be buffered, its alliances are not. European recessions would mean thinner defense budgets and more fragmented politics, just as Washington needs unity. The economic arithmetic provides a shield. The diplomatic arithmetic, however, is unforgiving. And in this new world, being the last economy standing is worthless if you are standing alone. That unforgiving diplomatic arithmetic is being tallied in real time. The result, even with an economic buffer still holding, American influence is collapsing into isolation on the world stage. First, the chain reaction surfaces with former allies. The second domino, after the economic shock. Consider Oman, the neutral Gulf Iran back channel. Its foreign ministry condemns American and Israeli actions as illegal aggression, and the worst aggression in the region's modern history. A move that turns Oman from mediator to accuser. That break pushes Gulf capitals to seek leverage in Moscow. In a formal meeting, Gulf ambassadors ask Russia's foreign minister to pressure Iran and prevent war. The answer is a slap. You want us to pressure Iran? Has anyone condemned America for killing over 200 schoolgirls in Iranian strikes? That answer shows Moscow will not rescue a US-led order, and Russia's UN Security Council veto turns that stance into a block on American de-escalation. The diplomatic path now hits a locked door in Moscow. Simultaneously, Beijing's claim that the US presence is the root of Middle East instability is echoed in the global south, recasting Washington, not Tehran, as source of chaos. These are not isolated events. They interlock. A Gulf broker, Oman, abandons neutrality. A Security Council power, Russia, shields Iran. And a narrative engine, China, recasts the US as the source of chaos. Together, they mark the end of unipolarity in the region. The arithmetic is unforgiving. Washington can no longer broker ceasefires or set red lines on its own. But even this unraveling is only a symptom of deeper failure in American military doctrine, built on now proven false assumptions. That assumption was simple. For 30 years, American doctrine treated technological superiority as a guarantee of victory. The expectation was a quick, clean, tech-driven strike that would force Iranian collapse, capitulation, or revolt. Instead, Iran absorbed the damage, maintained command, and escalated. The arithmetic is unforgiving. 3 stated endgames: collapse, capitulation, revolt. And Iran delivered none. Independent defense analysis confirms Iran destroyed or damaged US Patriot and ANTPY-2 radar systems in Jordan, Qatar, and Gulf bases, the eyes of America's air and missile shield. When those sensors are degraded and the intercept window compresses, large-scale air and missile campaigns stop looking like low-risk options. Then the conversation drifts to the Delta Force raid, the comforting fantasy that there is always one last secret card when tech stops delivering automatic wins. As one analyst puts it, the Delta Force option isn't a military plan. It's what happens when the actual military options have run out and the people in the room are grasping for something that sounds decisive. The old playbook is obsolete when your adversary can launch advanced hypersonic missiles that compress decision time and strain the engagement envelopes of systems like Patriot and ANTPY-2. A doctrine built on tech-managed safety cannot survive once that shield is porous. This is the core of the crisis. US technology still exists, but it no longer guarantees coercive outcomes, and the arsenal no longer compels adversaries to fold. That is why the old assumptions of American power are not coming back. For the prepared investor, this level of chaos is not random noise, but a signal. The collapse of one system precedes the rise of another, and the economic realignment that follows this crisis has a predictable pattern if you know where to look. That pattern is a forced acceleration of history. The immediate picture is crisis, but this same energy shock is about to reset capital flows and build out priorities. The causal chain is predictable, and it carries both opportunity and structural strain. The IEA notes that the 1970s oil shocks drove gains in efficiency and nuclear, and that the 2022 energy crisis accelerated renewables. This latest shock sits in that same sequence. It ignites the next phase of the energy transition. For forward-looking investors, the arithmetic is unforgiving. Fossil supply has been openly weaponized, so geopolitical risk on oil and gas is structurally higher, even before this conflict. A 2025 McKinsey report projected grid and renewable investment would already double. Elevated risk on legacy fuels plus accelerating capex into alternatives points one way: build out of renewables, nuclear, and the transmission backbone between them. This conflict doesn't just hit the accelerator. By turning energy security into a political survival issue, it blows through key brakes: political resistance, permitting, and risk aversion. The roadmap is now clear. Clean tech, critical minerals, nuclear, and domestic energy independence are no longer long-term goals. They are immediate necessities. In practice, that means grid infrastructure, the mineral supply chains behind batteries and turbines, and domestic generation that cuts reliance on unstable exporters. But this acceleration does not happen in isolation. It is tied to the erosion of the old energy order, fossil fuel-dominated geopolitics, and the petrodollar architecture built on US security guarantees. As that order decays, capital, technology, and policy are pushed faster into the new system. And seeing that decay clearly is what leads us to the one final truth behind this crisis. Russia didn't need to win in Ukraine to win strategically. It needed to wait for America to overextend somewhere else. America provided that somewhere else. That is the rule this crisis exposed. Iran didn't need to match US firepower. In a tight energy market, it weaponized oil, spiked prices, rerouted supply, and gave Russia breathing room. The old assumption was that Washington could sanction and surge without blowback. Now each move against an energy producer hits US consumers, allies and deficits, and arithmetic of debt and capacity makes that the point of no return. In this multipolar reality, read every regional flare-up through oil prices and shipping lanes first. Shocks will hit markets before armies move. The world that existed before this crisis. That world is not coming back. If this framework for understanding our new realities is valuable to you, subscribe for more analysis that cuts through the noise. The world has changed and you need to stay ahead.